My name is Chiwendu Osisiago, presenter Television Nigerian Business Daily. In a globalizing world, ours is to keep you engaged, informed and educated on contemporary happenings in the business world. We therefore command a special audience of business-minded viewers who are eager to know more about business, your business. Why don't you take advantage of our special affordable offer to let the world know about your concepts, your goods, and of course, your services? You can call us on 080-3071-6959 or 070-3234-9054. You can also visit us at Television Nigerian in Guzapi, Abuja, and follow us on all the social media handles on Facebook, YouTube, and of course, on Twitter at Television Nigerian. Your business is our concern.
The downward trajectory of the Naira is one of the clearest indicators of the depth of the economic crisis triggered by the coronavirus pandemic and commodity prices in free fall. Foreign reserves are down by $10 billion over the past years to $35 billion and could not be relied on to show up the value of the Naira under the current extreme conditions. Welcome to TV and Business Daily on Television Nigerian. I am Chiwendu Osisiago, and today we shall be discussing on COVID-19 and the strength of the Naira. But before we proceed with our discussion, let's look at what is happening in the business world. The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation has said some of its partners are producing a barrel of crude oil in the country at $93, a development it describes as unacceptable. The Group Managing Director, NNPC Man Kyari, who disclosed this on Wednesday, said many oil companies operating in Nigeria had personal costs that had been unsustainable under the current market realities. Last week, the Senate Committee on Finance condemned in strong terms the explanation by the NNPC that it spent $21 to produce a barrel of oil. Kyari, in his presentation at a webinar organized by the Nigerian Association of Petroleum Explorationists on Wednesday, said a number of steps were being taken to bring down the cost of production in the industry to $10 per barrel. He said the national oil firm would not lay off its workers despite the oil price collapse occasioned by the COVID-19 pandemic. While still on the price of the petrol, the Department of Petroleum Resources is enforcing the new price range of 121 Naira 5 kobo to 123 Naira 5 kobo per litre for petrol at filling stations across the country, as are shut down errand outlets selling above the stipulated rate. It was gathered that all zonal operations controller of the DPR agreed to inspect and enforce the new price after finding that some filling stations had yet to comply with the regulation on petrol prices. Speaking during the inspection of filling stations in Abuja and neighboring states on Wednesday, the zonal operations controller Abuja said the DPR had also been notified that many outlets were under dispensing products. On the compliance level of marketers of the new pump price of petrol, Buba stated that although he was impressed by the conduct of some dealers, a few others failed to comply. He said the filling stations of defaulter had been shut by the agency until the companies were ready to comply with the new price. The Senate on Wednesday confirmed the appointment of Lamido Yuguda as the Director General of the Securities and Exchange Commission. The lawmakers also confirmed Reginald Busa, Ibrahim Boye, and Temidayo Obisan as Executive Commissioners for the Commission. The confirmation followed the submission of the report of the Senate Committee on Capital Markets by its chairman, Senator Ibikulu Amuson, to the upper chamber of the National Assembly. Amoso, in his presentation, described the nominees as experienced and suitable for the job and therefore recommended their confirmation. The President, Muhammad Buhari, had last week requested the Senate to confirm the appointment of the 4 nominees as DG and commissioners of SEC. The President of Senate, Ahmed Lawa, after the confirmation on Wednesday, asked the Commission to ensure efficiency in the discharge of their duties in order to attract local and foreign investments to the country. The nation's stock market pared some of its recent gains on Wednesday amid profit-taking activities by investors. The Nigerian Stock Exchange All-Share Index dropped by 120.11 basic points or 0.47% to close at 25,215.04 from 25,335.15 on Tuesday. The market capitalization of equities fell by 63 billion naira or to close at 13.15 trillion naira from 13.22 trillion naira as market sentiment returned to negative territory. A turnover of 266.65 million shares were traded by investors in 3,978 deals on Wednesday. The banking subsector was the most active during the day, with 74.38 million shares traded in 517 deals. It was largely driven by activities in the shares of Guaranty Trust Bank PLC and Jaiz Bank PLC. The premium subsector of the financial services sector was boosted by activities in the shares of FBN Holdings PLC, Zenith Bank PLC, with a turnover of 68.96 million shares in 1,328 deals. And that's the business update on Television Nigerian. I am Chirendu Osisiago. Let's take a quick break. We'll be back shortly.
My name is John.
I'm John.
My name is Khalifa.
Children's Day is a day set aside to create awareness on the problems children are facing and how to improve their welfare and solve them.
I stay healthy and boost my immune system by eating from different food groups like carbohydrates, proteins, and vegetables.
Apart from eating healthy at Johnson, I have gone through all the immunization processes from tuberculosis to yellow fever. The health centers are open for everyone who wants to access immunizations. And don't forget, vaccines save lives.
I wash my hands regularly. When I want to cough, I use tissues and dispose of them properly, or I dab to cough.
I stay safe during this lockdown by wearing face masks and practicing social distancing.
I know you may be wondering if this lockdown stopped my education. Well, no, because I now have online classes.
I read my books and have a lesson teacher to support me during this pandemic.
I am stable. I am in this lovely environment. My parents are there for me, and I also exercise.
There are children who are unable to access clean and safe water. These children constitute the internally displaced people, the Ahmadis and orphans who live in the rural areas and urban slums. Now, these children are unable to afford hand sanitizers. There is no hope for electricity, not to talk of internet access. This is surely a very unpleasant situation. However, we can come together to solve and tackle this challenge for the future.
Do you know that it is the right of every Nigerian child to be schooled, healthy, safe and stable? The Federal Republic of Nigeria has a constitution that says so.
So I believe that children should be healthy, schooled, safe and stable.
All hands must be on deck. Corona or no corona.
Many thanks for staying with us, and in case you're just joining us, it's TVN Business Daily. Like I stated earlier, we shall be discussing on COVID-19 and the strength of the Naira. My guest is here in the studio. He is a financial analyst, Mr. John Ochayin. You're welcome again to TVN Business.
Thank you very much, Sir Pleasant.
Okay, my first question for you today is that, is it safe to say that the COVID-19 has impacted the strength of the Naira?
You can say I'm smiling, and I'm not smiling because it's worth smiling.
Okay.
I'm smiling because we are not a serious people in our society to strengthen the Naira in the first place, before we are even talking about the COVID-19 that have come to even add a problem to this very problem we have at hand before. Let me digress a little bit for us to understand, because it's not really easy when you talk about cushion the effect of what touching up the Naira to compare with the global world at large is difficult. In 1975, Nigeria replaced pound to Naira, and relatively the Naira was equated with £1. As at that time, we were not exploring the oil as at that particular period of time. And what we concentrate majorly was on the area of agriculture. And with our economy depend much more on the agricultural produce and the internal harness of our resources. And Naira was even relatively above the dollar as at that particular period of time. But there is a gainsaying that says that if you don't plan, definitely you plan to fail. And Nigeria have planned over time to fail because the leadership or the people managing the economy does not even value the life or the citizen itself. And for that reason, they don't concentrate on developing the human resources and then the natural resources to balance the international trade, for them to balance the global trade, for Naira to have value. And that is why there was a pressure in 2015 when President Muhammad Buhari came into power that the Naira should be devalued. And there have been a pressure from the international organization, for most especially the World Bank, the IMF, for Nigerian Naira to be devalued. Because if you don't balance this trade because of what you are producing within the country, it's a problem. And you come to think of it, Nigeria has not been producing the international local demand. What we have been producing is we only consume it within the local. And for that, I can even tell you 65% of consumption of produce we consume in the country is from what? Is from the international community. That is to say, $16.8 billion is wasted away every year in purchasing of what? All the items we purchase from abroad. For instance, now most of their pharmaceutical item is being purchased from the international community. Cars, mention but a few. Most of the product, because we don't produce majorly what we consume. And then when the President Muhammad Buhari came into power, he proclaimed that he is going to tackle three major things. One, security. Two, welfare of the people. And then fight the corruption. Because that is the area where you were able to improve the entire economies of Nigeria at large. But we have failed on that direction. And because we have failed, we will not be able to balance the trade because we are not doing anything in such a way that we are able to balance the economic at that point in time. Now, I will bring it to your notice, and then for our average listener out there to understand that Nigeria has not really prepared for a safe haven which we were waiting for, because the world have left us behind. And even when you come to the African continent, Nigerian Naira is not rated amongst 125 as it is right now. You can go and make your research. Ghana here, we were chasing from Nigeria. Ghana cedi is higher above Nigeria Naira with 26. And with this COVID-19, the only way Nigeria were able to move beyond where the Naira is right now is to diversify the economy and look above the international consumption and look inward and boost the local production and concentrate on the local. With that, we're able to cushion that effect and improve on the Naira for increase. Then, if you look at the Naira as it is today, the Naira is devaluing itself without being compared to be devalued. Because what CBN does is to inject Naira into the FX and then ask the interbank to exchange at the pace of the instruction from the central bank. But as it is right now, there is more pressure on even the Naira to devalue itself. As at yesterday, Naira was $1 was 442 Naira. But as at today, you can see we have is exchanging by 443, which means the Naira is gradually, devaluing itself. Then when you concentrate to the euro, I think if I'm not mistaken, is 460 something Naira as it is. Fan is 497 as it is as at today. You see, with that, we are not really working, maybe we might be presenting a paper presentation, but we have not been really working hard to balance the trade. And that is why you see Naira will be very difficult as it is now to be strengthened.
So with the devaluation of the Naira now that you have explained to me, does it have any effect on the economy at large?
Of course, it has effect. The effect is even way high. The effect is really, really way high because the society has been under pressure already. Because if you go to market, whatever you buy depends on the dollar exchange with Naira. And because most of the things we consume in the economy is what? Is based on what we bring in from the international. Okay. You understand? To balance with what we have, because we are not producing anything. If you look at the indices from the agriculture, that we are claiming that the economy has been diversified and concentrated on the agriculture, what we produce on yearly basis cannot even meet with the local consumption. We have to depend on the international market again for we to bring goods in for consumption. Manufacturer, we don't produce anything that all our companies, firms are using. I can tell you virtually that most 95% of what we consume in this country is coming from abroad. And most of our leaders, the rich people, the wealthy people, don't even consume what we produce in the country. Rather, we import everything. And you agree with me that even now, as I speak to you, pizza is imported from London to Nigeria. If not because of this coronavirus.
Why is it imported since the borders are closed?
Yeah. Yes, because now you can't import. I said before now, okay. Isn't it? Before the pandemic, pizza is imported. But as it is right now that nobody is going out, nobody is coming in. That is why I said it is good for us to take advantage of what is happening now, the pandemic, for us not to see it as a problem to the high economy, but we use this window periods of this pandemic to do what? To diversify the economy in such a way that we're able to concentrate the local economy and build the local economy to the latter, to what? To balance the trade. And with that, we're able to touch up and strengthen the Naira within our environment.
Okay, all right, thank you. So as the depletion of the foreign reserve made it worse? Has it made it worse?
It has made it worse, of course. It has made it worse. As of 2015, when Buhari came into power, the past government left a debt of 7 trillion. As of 2016, the debt increased to 12.12 trillion. As I speak to you, as of 2019, the debt, September 2019, the debt jacked up to 23.8 trillion. And presently, the government even want to borrow, again, 1.9, which relatively, the percentage rate of the debt is going to grow to 128%. And now we have foreign reserve of 47 trillion. And now they have, since the coming of the pandemic, they have been making a withdrawals of that money over time. As it is right now, we are having 72 billion. And how do we balance the trade? And the reason why Nigeria, the Naira is relatively going low or is being compared to be devalued is because as it is right now, you won't be able to balance the trade because your foreign reserve that you have is what you use in balancing the Naira. So that when there is a pressure on Naira, you inject the Naira to what? To the reserve to balance the trade. For instance now, if your manufacturer are purchasing goods on credit, and they purchase those goods on credit, they use dollars to pay. And it is what they drain from the country they'll be able to use in paying. And then the CBN now have a lot in their pan because they have tried in different way to balance it. That was the reason why there is a lot of depletions. But as it is right now, there is nothing they can do because it's not a skyrocket. Okay. It's not a skyrocket. You need to give what you have. And what we don't have, we can't give it. Because as it is now, Nigeria government doesn't even have money. Because money is in a private individual. And even with the promise the government gave us by saying they are coming to fight corruption. Yes, they have been fighting corruption. And at the end of the day, the money they have been collecting, I believe it has been related because they have not given us a tangible account of that money. So there is no way you're able to balance the economy. So it have a lot of impact on the economy.
Now, with all this explanation, now what is the alternative way out?
The alternative way out as it is right now, it's way too late. But nevertheless, we can still work on it to move forward. Now, you cannot go to the private individual and say, bring your money. I think what they would be able to do to cushion the effect to balance it now is to the diaspora bond, so that the Nigeria living in diaspora to add more, to bring their money home through bond. So the federal government should purchase bond. Okay. And also compare those individuals. They can try as much as they can to also create a machinery, financial bucket, where those who have money within the country to also plug back the money to the system so that we're able to balance the problem we have at hand. As of 2015, we went into recession. And we came out of recession not quite long before the pandemic came in. And the pandemic have come in now that Nigeria is not even concentrating on how to build much of the economy, is to solve the problem because we felt that we are already in war. But as it is right now, the only possible solution is to look inward on the local economy, no longer international community, because every shop has even been shut down. Every market in the international has been shut down. If you look at our capital market indices, you will see that yes, most of the market is on negative. Yeah. And for that reason, there is nothing you can do now because all the world are in war. All the world are relatively having a problem. For that reason, we need to look inward and do what they call holistic diversification. With that, we're able to move forward and then solve the problem we have at our pan. Thank you very much.
We hope to move forward. All right, my next question is that is the impact of illegal forex operators that significant?
Let me tell you, you see, I think the illegal forex traders are the most difficult people we can, they are even the problem, so to say. Because let me tell you one problem that you might not really understand that brings much problem to our society. You see, people that loot money exchange that money and keep them in the hard currency, pound, dollars, euro. And when the problem of this kind persists, they begin to exchange, and then the dollars we are supposed to have that is domiciled in the central bank is no longer domiciled there. It's domiciled in the private individual houses, farm, and other places like that. And then you cannot take those pool of money to bank or the interbank for you to. But the only place you're able to, take that money, kind of money to, that you can exchange it without federal government stamp on you, is by going through this borrow the change or illegal business dealers and all that. And what that does is that money is circulating outside the economy, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then if we're outside the informal sector, so to say, and for that reason, it has a very big chunk of problem. And for that, we need to try as much as we can to do away with the illegal and concentrate on the interbank based on the CBN policy driven.
Okay, let's take a quick break, and after the break, we'll talk about the contributions from the CBN. And after the break, we'll continue. Stay tuned.
My name is Chiwendu Osisiago, presenter Television Nigerian Business Daily. In a globalizing world, ours is to keep you engaged, informed, and educated on contemporary happenings in the business world. We therefore command a special audience of business-minded viewers who are eager to know more about business. I mean, your business. Why don't you take advantage of our special affordable offer to let the world know about your concepts, your goods, and of course, your services? You can call us on 080-3071-6959 or 070-3234-9054. You can also visit us at Television Nigerian in Guzapi, Abuja, and follow us on all our social media handles on Facebook, YouTube, and of course, on Twitter at Television Nigerian. Your business is our concern.
Thanks for joining us again, and in case you're just joining, it's still TVN Business Daily, and we've been discussing on COVID-19 and the strength of the Naira. My guest is a financial analyst who has been discussing with us. He is Mr. John Ochain. Okay, now before we went on a quick break, I was like, we're going to discuss more the expectations we have from the Central Bank of Nigeria regarding the devaluation of the Naira. So what do you think the CBN can actually do to curb the rates of the devaluation of the Naira?
Thank you very much, Ms. Chipindu. I think the only institutions that can try possible best to cushion the devaluations by improving on the strength of the Naira is the CBN themselves. Because the CBN have the right to balance the trade on behalf of the federal government and on behalf of the citizen. And that is why they have come out with a platform in which every household will be able to go to central bank to borrow without a collateral, and then the CBN should try and formulate a policy by reducing at this particular period of time the interest rate, because the interest rate is way high. And if money is not in circulation, I know the marginal propensity need to be way for you to balance the trade, so that you not also have in trying to solve another problem, you are also creating another problem. But I believe those who are in charge of the CBN, most especially with the leadership of Emefiele, they are tush and they know what they are doing. But when the existing problem became way high, they have to see in different apparatus to ensure they were able to solve the problem. I think the best way to solve the problem is to give a grant to this banks, and banks were able to give the grant to their various citizens and open the market. And then the more we open the market and concentrate on the local, then we were able to to strengthen the dollar. So because we are no longer concentrate on importing goods, we only concentrate on what we produce in the country. And by that time, since we are not balancing the trade, much of the trade of international trade, then the international will not compel us to devalue. Rather, we're able to touch up our Naira to where we is expected to be.
So if the devaluation of Naira continues, what may be the consequences?
The consequences of the devaluation of Nigeria, we all know. Because when your Naira is devalued, that is to say, there will, the little money we have is drained from the society. And if the money is drained, definitely you head to recession. And if nothing is done, we will head to depression until we begin to, the government functionary begin to rise and again beg all those in charge of the monetary policy in the globe to beg them to reduce and then forfeit some of our debts, just like as Obasanjo did in 1999 to 2000. So because when Obasanjo came into power, our debt profile was very high. What he did was to just run to the World Bank and IMF to say, okay, please, now that we are coming to democracy, we need to work on our environment, we need to work on our economy. For that reason, we won't be able to meet up with demand of this. And since the demand and supply is relatively high, what we will do, give us this grace period on this and then help us on this area, forfeit this one for us, and then we're able to balance the economy and then we're able to move forward. So the only way we're able to do, if we got on that area, if the problem persists or illume to that to that extent, the only way we're able to do as now is to just say no to the international borrowing and say no to the international buying products, and then concentrate on what we can produce locally and concentrate on what we can do within the local to move the country forward. Because as it is now, there is no safe haven everywhere, in anywhere as it is, because the World Bank himself, they have a lot at their disposal because they are giving other country money. IMF, you can see just of recent, there was an intervention in the African continent, most especially the West African, they beg the IMF to forfeit the debts they have. And then I think Nigeria was not having any debt there. So because if you look at the social media, the economy as at that time, and then the citizens were agitating that Nigeria should be forgiven of their, or given a grace for their opportunity to be forgiven too. But with the finance minister came to tell us that no, we are not owing them, that the people whom they are forgiving the debt are those whom are owing the IMF. Mm-hmm. So for that reason, we could not be concentrating on looking to international market to just go and borrow money. Just like you run to China, you tell them to give you money. You run to World Bank, you tell them to give you money. You run to no. Nigeria should try as much as they can through the CBN to look inward and create avenue where there will be ease of doing business. Okay. And then we now have to try as much as get to tax the citizen when there is an enabling environment in another way to balance it. That is the only way to go to make sure we do not head to recession before we talk of deflation.
Okay, thank you. What's your advice and your possible solution to this?
Thank you very much. The only possible solutions now, and it's not way far from us, because just as I said earlier, if you don't plan to succeed, you plan to fail. Over time, Nigeria have been planning to succeed, but the effort is not quite palatable because they have not really improved on the society. Because if you look at the educational sector, it's gullible. If you look at the manufacturing sector, it's gullible. If you look at the social amenities such as water, light, it's gullible. They are all moribund, so to say, because it's not working. You cannot operate a business powering your power plant, such as the so-called name generator, to run a business and he wants you to have go to most of the offices in Abuja, go to most of the offices in Nigeria, in our respective offices, we are running the office with generator, no light. And if you don't build on those existing stuff, automatically you have a problem. So coming on this last note, I want the African, and most especially Nigerian, to improve on human resources, because no country will grow without working or build on their human capacity. Because the reason why you are here as a journalist today is because you have the knowledge. The reason why I'm here today to speak, because you have faith in me that what you want me to do is to present. So you cannot give what you don't have. If the society such as Nigeria, as the biggest economy in Africa, and your money is nothing, are we in the African continent? Are we supposed to be happy? What have we done to balance those traders at that time? We have not done anything. The only way we're able to do now is to work on the human resources, improve on our local trade, improve our local manufacture, then the existing environment such as infrastructure, social amenity that could elaborate the effort of building a better economy in which the other economy will depend on us and begin to bring money to our country. Then if we're able to put those level playing field, then we're able to move forward. Because no investor will bring his money to where you don't have an enabling environment. For instance, now, there's no day you listen to news that crisis is not, apart from the pandemic, there are other crises between the Fulani herdsmen and then the kidnapper and other killer. Those bad image also affects the country. And if those things are not curtailed, it's a problem. So for that reason, for us to strengthen Naira, the only thing that the Nigerian government will be able to do is to diversify the economy. They should not concentrate on the areas of the agriculture alone, because agriculture is one sector. They should concentrate on the local manufacturing. If they don't have the knowledge, they should improve on the human resources that will be able to take responsibility on that aspect to ensure everything is being done within ourselves. I don't need to buy a car from China before I drive a car. I don't need to import food before I eat food, because I have land. I have the best climate condition to ensure that those things are done within our environment.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Jonah Challenge, for coming on TV and Business. I learned a lot from you today.
Thank you very much.
All right, Mr. Jonah said it. He said that if you don't plan to succeed, you plan to fail. And for the government, in order for you to strengthen the Naira, you need to diversify the economy. And that's the much we have for you today on TV and Business Daily. I am Chiwendi Osisiago. And don't forget that you can follow us on all our social media platforms, on Facebook, on YouTube, and of course on Twitter at Television Nigerian. Do have a wonderful day. Bye for now.